Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is Amanda Koziel with the VIP Woman, and welcome back to the You Were Born to Lead online training series. And I am so excited today because I have the beautiful and stunning Miss Natasha Hemmingway that is joining us. And first of all, I just want to let you know that I was so excited to have her on this training because she is a legit sales coach, which I know so many of the women that I work with one-on-one and that are following me are in sales in one way, shape, or form. And so not only is she a sales coach, but she's also a very well-known speaker. So we are super, super lucky to have her today to share her gifts and her passions. And so before we get started and dive into what we're going to talk about today, Natasha, did you want to introduce yourself a little bit and just kind of tell us a bit more about what you do?
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me, Amanda. I'm excited. I'm grateful to be a part of this summit. And I am Natasha Hemmingway, like she mentioned. I am a sales coach and I am a speaker. And I think the easiest way to kind of talk about like what I do, I break it down in like three things. So I help entrepreneurs and business leaders, business owners do three things. One, achieve meaningful success. Two, master their authentic sales process, and three, so that they can actually maximize their sales wins. So it's the big three that I talk about: authentic sales process, helping people achieve meaningful success, and then obviously helping people maximize their sales wins so that they can like win in business and in sales, because we're all selling something.
Yes.
We're all selling something, whether it be a product, a service, ourselves. We're always selling, but there's also a way to do it and a way not to do it. And so
100%. I love that. And what I love about your background too. So for those of you that may not know Natasha, her and I were able to chat before we scheduled this interview. And what's amazing is we both have a pharmaceutical background, pharmaceutical sales background and medical sales. And so how many years was it that you were in sales, Natasha, before you started your coaching business?
16.
16 years. Yeah. Which is amazing. And so it's I can resonate so much to what that was like in that world. And I know that from that, like you've actually created your own trademark process that you really believe,
Yeah.
passionately in, which is it's the heart, not hustle method, correct?
Yeah.
So
You got
yeah, so
it.
I'd love for you to just dive in a little bit to kind of the things that from your background in sales and where you are now, what you
Yeah.
enjoy coaching women on the most related to sales.
Yes.
And then we can kind of talk about how that can relate to, like you said, anybody in any career, because at the end of the day, everybody is in sales in one way, shape, or form.
Right. So kind of the whole process of how I got here, like coming from corporate into here, as far as how I got to the heart not hustle method, I think is what you're asking specifically. For one, in corporate, you know this, you and everybody in corporate, if you're in sales, you go through sales training, right? And they teach you their structure, right? It's that sales company structure method. They have top end sales training. And it's great because you go through and you learn and you go through the rigor and the intense training, and you deliver, right? You do it over and over and over and over and over. And you're talking to the same customer, obviously different personalities, but you're talking to the same customer about the same product over and over and over. And the thing that you're selling is a product. But what I noticed, Amanda, which was really, really eye-opening, which shifted and where this method came from, is that when I shifted from corporate sales over to being an entrepreneur myself, I had to learn very quickly and make this shift very quickly to go from corporate sales to entrepreneur sales. There's a big difference. There are obviously a lot of the same methods that and processes that I've learned through corporate sales that I'm grateful for, but it doesn't really translate and operate the same when you start going into your own business, where you're either selling a product that you love, that you believe in, that's personal to you, or even if you're selling a service. There's a way to do it. And the way corporate is not the way you're going to translate and communicate, because you're not talking to the same type of customer over and over and over. So for example, when I was in corporate sales, I was in this disease state here, where I sold diabetes products, and I talked to physicians, specialists, patients, right? Hospitalists. So I'm constantly in that lane. So it's like, I'm locked in. When you start switching to entrepreneurial sales, you open yourself up to everybody. Obviously, you are niched. You should be niched, and you should have a focus as to who your ideal client is, who your customer is, and who you're talking to. But it's a difference. There's not this robotic, same old, same old, same old process. it's really, really important for you to understand your customer, understand what they need, what they want. And so the Heart Not Hustle method is all about actually literally having a authentic sales process that you can speak from the heart. No matter if you're male, female, it's something that you're passionate about it, and it's from your voice, not a script that you were taught over here or you learned, but actually what are the words that are in you that speak to your product or your service or your brand that you are passionate about. Right. And that takes heart. That takes sitting down. It takes understanding what that is. What is the heartbeat of your brand? What is the heartbeat of your company? Why do you do it? Why are you passionate about it? Why do you think people need what you have? But even before that, it's also having a heart for your customer too. Absolutely. Like understanding that you're not there just to sell them something. Right. There is a process. Number one, your first biggest thing is you need to connect. You need to bring value. You need to be of service. And those things are heart-centered things. You are there for them. You are outpouring your product or service for them. But in that process, before you ever sell them anything, you need to understand, what do they need? Totally. What do they need? What are their pain points? What do they desire? So it's really getting to the heart of your business and the heart of your customer, because there's a difference between just selling someone something and actually really connecting with people and providing them with what they need.
And I want to park on that for 1 minute, because I think that especially for anybody who is newer to sales, I know that from my experience coaching a sales team the last couple of years, a lot of times people, there's a stigma about sales, that for a lot of people it feels super icky. And that's because of the conditioning, right, that they've received over the years to like what being a salesperson means, or maybe their experience of being sold to. And where that disconnect, to your point, is so much like, it's about the way that they're viewing themselves as that salesperson. Because if you're viewing yourself just as a salesperson reading from a script, 100%, that can feel super inauthentic, right? Which is essentially what you're saying. Like, and it feels forced. It doesn't feel like you're genuinely connecting with the person. And so I think that like what I love about your method is just that it is so much about that connection piece, right? And at the end of the day, like, isn't that what it's all about, right? I mean, it's connecting with the person, actually meeting them where they are, and not just showing up with like, here's what's in my bag and let's just you're gonna pick. But but I think especially for, like I said, for people that maybe they haven't been in sales for years and they feel uncomfortable about like that they're having to sell stuff, like I just would, like, to your point, would challenge them to look at this differently and look at it from a connection standpoint and coming from your heart, and saying like, how can this approach be something that serves them and is not just about getting my sales quote, or not just about like making the sale,
Absolutely. But I think, Amanda, is what I saw in corporate to becoming an entrepreneur, I saw the switch very quickly that I needed to make. I was able to do that because I've been in sales for 16 years. So it wasn't a hard jump for me. But the gap that I noticed, where I knew that my business was a needs-based business, the gap that I saw is coming in contact with all these female entrepreneurs and business leaders, right? And the fact that they become passionate about something and then they build a business behind it, right? They're like, oh my gosh, I'm passionate about this. I want to do it. They build a business behind it, but no one teaches them how to sell it. So they don't have these sales backgrounds. So a lot of their feelings of ickiness and feeling disconnected or feeling like they're bugging people, a lot of that comes from because they don't have a sales process. Nobody has taught them how to sell. Nobody has tapped in and sat down with them, or they haven't received coaching to work on it, because sales is not something like, oh, me and Amanda were born at being great at sales. No, it's a skill set. And you have to invest the time and money. As much as you are investing into your business and the product, you also have to take a step back and say, yes, I want to build this business, but I also need to know how to sell this business, because your business cannot run off of passion. Passion does not equal profit, period. Like, you have to have a sales process. You have to have a sales strategy within your business, and then you have to know how to implement on it. And that's where I come in for a lot of female entrepreneurs and business owners, is where they're like, I have this amazing business. I'm passionate about it, but I am not being profitable. And I know it's because I don't know how to sell it. I don't know how to sell it. I don't feel comfortable saying, I don't even know what to say. Like I literally have so many people that are like, I don't even know what to say, Natasha. I don't know what to say in a sales conversation. I don't know how to close somebody. I don't know how to pitch myself. It's all these little things that they really, to no fault of their own, they haven't thought about it. It's just like, I'm passionate. What do I need to build this business and go? And then they keep going and they realize, oh, this is not profitable.
Right.
This is not going anywhere. But they're so in love and passion with it, they're not willing to let it go. And I'm like, don't go down in flames. Like
Right.
get
Right.
the support and the help, invest that you need. And so that's
Half the battle, you know. I mean, they have the passion, so it's like, you know, that when you have those clients that come to you, it's like, you know, that they can sell, but they just need someone to help bridge that gap and kind of lay out the groundwork. Like, okay, like here's what you do with all this passion now.
right.
And so, could you kind of give me an example, like, so what that would look like? I know I'm sure it's very individual for each person, but if somebody comes to you, which I think is very common for many people probably listening to this, you know, you're passionate about either your service or your company, or maybe you are an entrepreneur, and you're at that phase where you're super passionate about what you do, but you're not quite getting the traction with the clientele coming in. What types of things would you walk that person through?
Yeah, such a good question. I feel like it is different for every single business because
Mhm.
I mean, it's just different. And so it's
Really?
literally customizing. So one of the first things we do is I figure out, do they even know who they're talking to? Like, do you know who you're selling to? Because that sometimes uncovers like a big issue is that
Mhm.
they're trying to sell everything to everybody. And I'm like, no, everybody's not your customer or client. So we don't need to sell to everybody.
Excuse me.
You need to know who you're selling to first. What exactly do you want to sell them, right? What are your kind of your sales channels, right? Your products or services or whatever that is. And then I walk them through like a series, I call it my sales profitability cycle. We're helping them understand and we evaluate, and then we start literally creating these pieces that are involved in their sales processes. So one, how do you receive leads? How do you nurture those leads? Two, how are you getting into sales conversations with people? Three, do you even know how to lead a sales call? Like
Mhm.
that is an art within itself. It's like being able to confidently lead someone, because when they come to you, they already see value in you. They want whatever you have, or they're interested, they're intrigued. But what people do is they get on calls and they devalue themselves because they're nervous. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to sell the person. And I'm like, that person is expecting you to step up and be the lead guide expert on that call or in that conversation in person or in your store. They're expecting you to step up and lead them. But then you are devaluing yourself and like cutting yourself back because you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to sell. I don't know what to talk about. So you're like literally devaluing yourself. And then the person's like, wait a minute, like, I thought they had
That
this and I
feels
thought I
weird.
wanted it, and it's off. Like you're not meeting them where they're at. And so it's off. So that's one thing around really knowing how to lead and develop your sales conversation, knowing how to close, knowing about pricing. That is huge. Like people have all these misconceptions about pricing and their packaging. And I'm like, really, it's not that hard, but it's just some key things you need to be clued into. And then also, this one is huge, the sales mindset. Like
Mhm.
mindset, period. So what fears do they have associated with? I tell people, I laugh and say, I'm like, listen, you think you're coming to me just for sales, but you're going to get your mindset checked too.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
they go hand in hand,
They do.
right?
Mhm.
Because there's something that's blocking you. And a lot of times it's not knowing their worth, not valuing the work that they do, not knowing how to price it, not knowing how to communicate it with confidence, ease, and grace so you can sell with heart, not hustle.
Yeah.
Um, so it's getting to those core things, working on the mindset, and then building in a strategy that works for their business. And then also understanding, you know, the power that you have in follow up, understanding no doesn't mean no, or never it means not right now. And just kind of it's all of this melting pot of this thing that I've created, and it's a process. So I walk them through a series where I'm able to see things when they can cover them. And then we're able to dive back in and say, okay, this is missing. We need this here. Or I have some clients, like I have actually right now, 3 new clients that just signed up for the new year. And I call them the smart ones. Like they're ahead of the curve because they're literally building out their sales systems now before they launch in 2020 in Q1. So
No,
that's
that's
the
huge.
most ideal way to do it. But it doesn't, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having to go backwards. It's just being aware that you need the help.
Absolutely. And I love, so out of all those different steps you just talked about, the one that I would love to talk about a little bit more is that leading that sales conversation, because I see this a lot. And what I loved about what you said is oftentimes when we're going into that call or going into that meeting, they're already interested. And I totally agree with you that I feel a lot of people, what we tend to do sometimes is walk into that meeting and we're not taking control or having that sense of authority, because the
Yep.
reality is that they don't want to be sold to, but they want to be led, right? And
Yes.
so can you speak to that idea a little bit more, just because I feel like that's super relatable to whether you're in corporate, whether you're an entrepreneur. I mean, if you're giving a presentation to your team in a corporate setting, it's leading with that sense of authority and
Yeah.
knowing that, they're there for a reason. They're there to listen, but you have to kind of step into that confidence and decide to lead it, rather than it being this, like you were saying, this weird energy feeling where they're like, wait a minute, they don't seem very confident in what they're talking
Yeah. Let me tell you, that is so spot on. Like everything you just said,
about.
you have to lead. And energy is everything in sales.
Excuse me.
Mindset, energy, strategy, like it, like pillars, mindset, energy, strategy, those things are key. And when you're talking about leading a sales conversation, it's exactly what you said and what I said, is that you have to show up with confidence. But a lot of the lack of confidence comes from not being prepared. It comes from not knowing what to say. It comes from not really having a strategy. It comes from not knowing what you're going to sell whoever you're talking to. So I talk to people about, do you have a pre-call form? Like, is there something in place for you to collect information so that you get on that call knowing at least two options or avenues that you're going to sell them on? But before you even sell them on anything, the biggest thing in a strategy call, or people call it needs analysis call, discovery call, strategy call, sales conversation. It can be in person, it can be on Zoom, whatever way you're doing it, is that one of the biggest things is for you to allow your customer to talk. They should be talking more than you. Like 90 to 95% of the time they should be talking, and only 5 to 10% of the time you should be talking. But that's strategy. Most people don't know how to do that because they don't have a strategy. They don't know how to lead the call. And you need to be asking the right questions. And they're like, wait, how can I lead if I'm not talking? Right? If I'm not doing the majority of the talking and controlling the conversation, how am I leading? And I'm like, there's a strategy to it. I will teach you. But it's really important for your customer to be talking more than you. It's also really important for you to know what questions you're going to ask and ask the right questions, but also having that awareness to be able to pivot. This is not, hey, I'm going to ask them these 10 questions and then I'm going to roll them into closing them. No,
Right.
no, no, no. But letting that conversation flow, picking up on things. And also, one of your biggest things you need to know is like, what are their pain points? You need to like uncover before you ever open your mouth and try to sell them anything, before you ever do that. And I think when you are prepared and you know what you're going to do in the call, you know what you're going to sell them, then you feel more confident to get on the call and execute, right? Because if you don't know what to say, you don't know what to sell, you're feeling like uneasy, it just trickles all into it. And that is where in sales conversations is one of, I feel like, one of the number one places that people lose business. It is one of the quickest ways to lose business. And it is one of the most important ways that you need to show up, like that you need to execute, because someone is saying, hey, I value you and what you offer. I'm interested. And they're giving you their time. So it is your job and your business to come prepared. Come prepared, come ready to execute, come to lead them, not being cocky and not overly, but like, it's not something you have to put on. Does that make sense?
100%.
But there should be a sense of peace about an excitement that like, I'm ready to help this person. This person's interested in what I have. And I know that what I have is going to help them.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to get to the bottom of how I can help them. And sometimes in sales calls, you realize, wait, this isn't my ideal client, or they need help that's out of my scope, right? And that you have to honestly, you have to recognize that. That's why you need to be actively listening And then you need to be able to own that if that is the case, because you're not going to close everybody. That's unrealistic.
Right.
And
And
everybody's not your customer.
at the end of the day, I think the best business owners realize that it's not about working with every single, client. It's working with the right ones. And
That's
that's
it.
where you get the repeat customers. That's where you get the referrals, is when you're truly aligned with working with the right, the right customer, the right client.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would love to talk a little bit about too is just this idea of pricing, because I see this so much, again, both sides, entrepreneurs, as well as looking back at working with my own sales team, and, individuals just feeling really, pricing is funny, and it brings up a lot of things about money and,
Yeah.
money story. We've heard of those types of things, your background, all that starts to come up when you start asking people for money, especially if you're asking them for a good chunk of change, right? So what is your thought process around helping people with pricing, and how to be more confident with quoting and,
Yeah.
asking for the sale, and all that kind of comes around with that money talk?
Yeah. Good question. Pricing is one of those things that's funny. It does bring up people's money story. And that's why working on your mindset is key,
Right.
because you can get out of the way. I just told a client this yesterday. I'm like, listen, someone else's money business is not your business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So stop getting your emotions and your money story. Obviously, we do the work to work through her money story. But I told her, when you're on a sales conversation with somebody, their money business is not your business. You don't need to get emotionally attached to that. You don't need to get involved with that, right? You need to talk about what you offer, how you can help them, what that looks like, communicate that, but don't get emotional, because people will walk themselves out of a sale assuming that somebody can't afford something, or assuming that, oh, their face looked a little bit different. Oh my gosh, maybe I should just discount it right now, here and there. And they kind of like back out of it, right?
Right.
And I'm like, no, don't do that. I think one of the biggest things too, Amanda, is that people assume that someone's not buying for them because of price, and that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
One of the number one issues, and this is why I said at the beginning, one of the first things we do is I find out if they know exactly who they're talking to. Do they know who they're speaking to, who their ideal client is, and are they speaking directly to them? Because instead of trying to like sell to the masses, speak to the masses, because one of the biggest issues around pricing or someone not buying is that your offer is not congruent. So meaning whatever you're offering and who you're selling it to, they're not your ideal client. So
Right.
what you're offering is not congruent for them. It's not congruent. It doesn't even make sense for them, or you're missing it somehow. And it's like, wait, like, oh, and that's where I will see people where they're like, I spoke to this person, this person, this person, this person. And I'm like getting no and no and no and no and no. And obviously that's two part. Do they know how to lead? Are they in their sales conversation? Do they have an established sales process? What's their sales conversion rate? All these things. But then the other part is do you know who you're talking to? Like, and are you speaking to their needs? And then do you offer what they want? So one of the biggest things is your offer not being congruent. But then there's other things like flat out, they don't believe you. They don't see value in it. And this is like things around why people think it's pricing, but it's really just reasons why people
The
aren't buying.
value,
It has
yes, the value.
nothing. Yeah, it has nothing to do with your price. Price more than anything is energy.
Mm-hmm.
Energy. It's your belief in if what you sell, obviously there's strategy and numbers to it.
Right.
But once you get to the number, right? And that's not the number that you see everybody else quoting. That's not it. But once you get to your number, you center in with yourself and you get to your number that you feel like is valid. It's about, do you actually believe it? Right? Because I can tell you, hey, Amanda, you should be charging this. That's like too low. But if you don't believe that you are worth that, and that for the work that you do in exchange is worth that in value, you're not going to communicate it well.
Right.
It's not going to come across.
Feel it.
I can tell you to sell something all day. And if you don't believe it and you're not confident, then you're going to spit out a price and it's going to go dead.
Right.
Because pricing is for sure an energy thing, for sure. And it's about the communication. It's how you communicate it. And then of course, your level of expertise, your time, your da-da-da-da. I mean, there's factors, tons of factors. But I think the biggest things are your offer's not congruent to who you're trying to sell it to. Two, there's like reasons why people don't buy, right? They don't see value. They don't believe you. cash flow. They don't have cash flow. They don't see an urgent need to buy at the point. Like there's a number of things. And then the other thing is, like I said, is the energy. Are you able to communicate it? Do you believe that you are worth that in exchange for your work? Because you are asking for people's hard-earned money.
Absolutely.
In exchange for your level of expertise, product, or value, whatever.
Right. You have to believe it. I
Absolutely.
love that. That is such good stuff. So 2 quick final questions before we start to wrap up. The one was, since I know you do have a background in sales and especially like after your experience of now working with several clients that are, wanting to be walked through this process, if you could go back in time and tell your younger self, like when you were just getting started in sales, like what is like the one piece of advice you'd give yourself? And then the second question is, and this is just personally for me as well, because I'm a total book nerd, but do you have any favorite books related to sales or, business that you feel have really like been inspirational or changed your approach to sales?
Absolutely. Okay. The first question, that's the tough one. If I could look back, I would say just trusting the process of how things fell into place, because I am a recovering, I jokingly always say this, I'm always in recovery, a type A perfectionist. So I like to have a plan. That's why sales works great for me, because I love to forecast but also at the same time, it has taught me that just because you forecast it and plan it doesn't mean it's going to go that way. So it's okay. Like trust the process. Like where I am now to where I was in the years that I spent there, it was all for a purpose. And it was for actually a greater purpose than I could have ever imagined. So it's just relax, enjoy, trust the process. It will, it happens.
I love that. Yeah. And just allowing yourself to be flexible along that road. I love that.
Yeah, because I thought after I wasn't in corporate sales, I was like, OMG, like, what am I gonna do now? What am I good? And like all these things. And it's like, really? Like, relax, trust the process. Things will walk. And obviously it takes action on our part. You can't just
you can't sit there and do nothing.
Right? That does not work. That's why I'm telling you.
Yeah, that like the way to get there might not always be exactly the same, steps that it took for one client or for, one phase of your business. Because that's true too. I mean, not only are we always evolving, that's why I love that question, just asking different experts, they could tell their younger selves something, because obviously we've all evolved over the years, and then also like our business has evolved. So like what works today, with one client, that may shift because we change and our business shifts, and just being able to be flexible and adaptable, to your point, I think is so important. And then what books? Do you have any book recommendations? I always love asking this.
I have like 3. Okay. One is called The Big Leap. Yeah. I love it. This one, I had never heard of it. I was in a year-long mastermind, and it's so good. Like, see, I want to start talking about it and talking about
what it too. No, I'm a huge fan of it. Yes, it's a great book.
I am like audiobook, blah, blah, blah. I'm like crazy for that. Another one that I'm reading right now that's really good, and it's short and to the point, but it's called Grace Over Grind.
Ooh, I've not heard of that one.
Oh, man. It's all about how grace will take your business where grinding can't. It is.
And that's it's almost so congruent with your method.
My brand.
Right? Yes. So cool.
It is 1,000% in alignment. And I think that's why it speaks to me so much. But I think it speaks to every entrepreneur. And especially as women, we go all out. And obviously, if you're an entrepreneur, you wouldn't even be here if you're not an entrepreneur or business leader. Right. But we go all out, and we want to do it at our best, and we will go and go and go, and we will grind our gears, and we will hustle ourselves into a mess. And it's like, it really doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. It's a total living and mindset around. That's the other thing I talk about in my coaching too. I'm like, this isn't just sales strategy and mindset, but it's all together, because this whole heart, not hustle, it's all encompassing. It's how you live things out, how you walk out, how you give, how you serve. I mean, it's just bigger. And once you embody that, it starts being communicated through your brand, your business, your life, how you walk it out. So that book, Grace Over Grind, it's a big one for me. And it's short and like packed.
Love it. I'm definitely going to get that one. And what's the third? Do you have a third?
The third, I would say, is it's a classic. It's the Go Givers.
Hmm.
And the one I really, really like is Go Givers Sell More.
Yes,
That's
I have both, but I haven't read them in a really long time, so I'm glad you're
yeah.
suggesting
They're
it.
old like classics, but they're good. So there's like the Go Giver, and then there's the Go Giver Sell More. And that's the one I really, really like, is the Go Giver Sell More. Because it again is in alignment with my brand.
Yes, no, totally. Oh, I love it. Yay, this is so exciting. I'm so excited for people to get their hands on those books. I've read 2 of the 3, but yeah, Grace Over Grind. I'm putting that on. Can you get it on Amazon? Do you know Grace Over Grind?
Yes, you
Okay.
can. I listen to mostly everything by audio
Yes,
because
that's been huge for me too. Yeah, for
yeah,
those of you out there that haven't checked out Audible, it's like I know a lot of women like ourselves are, because you can do it whenever. You can do it while you're walking, cleaning the house. It's a huge time
absolutely.
saver. Um,
Yes.
well, I am so excited that we had this opportunity. You do need to wrap up just for sake of timing. And so I did want to give you a chance as well, just to share, if people wanted to learn more about you, or how they can find out more about how to work with you, where they would find you. And then also, I believe you had something that you wanted to offer to the audience that's attending the You Were Born to Lead series. So I'll go ahead
Yes.
and let you talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So the way to find me, you can find me everywhere this is so simple, Natasha Hemmingway with 2 M's. So, I mean, everywhere. My Instagram is Natasha Hemmingway. My website is natashahemmingway.com. Facebook's Natasha Hemmingway. LinkedIn, it's all the same. If you search me, you'll see me there. My website. If anyone has any interest with working with me, you can go to the website. There's a Work With Me tab. You'll fill out a pre-call form and get set up for a free 30-minute strategy call, just to make sure it's a good fit, it's an alignment. I have what you need what I have, that type of thing, for us to get that figured out. And then as far as my free gift that I want to gift you with is, you can go to Natasha Hemmingway, so Natasha, and then Hemingway with 2 M's.com, and that's /SWH gift. And it stands for Sell Without Hustle Gift. So natashahemmingway.com /SWH gift.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And we'll definitely include that link in these show notes as well for
Okay.
everybody. So
Okay.
thank you again. This was such a
Thank you,
pleasure. So much
Amanda.
fun. I wish we could keep talking for like another hour, because I know we
I,
could.
but we're connected, so we
Yes, we are. But thank you so much. And then for everybody watching, thank you again for tuning into the You Were Born to Lead online training. And we will catch you guys next time. Thanks, Natasha. Have a good
you're
day.
welcome. Thank you.